It is a curious and profound truth that the most important journey you will ever take is the one you are already on, and yet you spend most of your days looking for another. You clutch at maps drawn by other hands, parents, teachers, the loud, anxious voice of the collective, all the while ignoring the faint but persistent pulse of your own blood, which is the truest compass you will ever possess. This pulse is not a logical plan, it is a whisper from the depths, a dream that will not leave you, a peculiar attraction to a certain kind of darkness, or a certain quality of light that reason cannot justify. To trust your path is not to have a blinding certainty about your destination. No, it is to have a trembling, but ultimately courageous, faith in the authenticity of your own footsteps, however clumsy they may seem, and in the significance of the peculiar stones you alone are destined to turn. There is a quiet, almost imperceptible tragedy that unfolds not in the dramatic failures or the loud catastrophes that mark a human life, but in the silence that follows a choice never made. It whispers to you in the half-light of dawn, not with the voice of regret for what you have done, but with the ghostly, far more chilling voice of regret for what you never dared to do. This is the tragedy of the unlived life. It is the life that exists as a mere potential, a haunting silhouette behind the one you are actually living, the conversation you bit back, the love you were too cautious to embrace, the creative spark you dismissed as impractical, the true calling you abandoned for the safe harbor of approval. We spend our days constructing a persona, a respectable facade to present to the world, and we call this maturity. We polish this mask until it shines, and we believe its reflection is who we are. But deep within, a part of us knows. It knows the cost of this performance. It feels the slow, subtle erosion of the soul that occurs when we consistently choose the path of least resistance, when we betray our own peculiar and individual nature for the comfort of the collective. This inner self does not scream, it simply withdraws its vitality. It leaves you with a life that may look successful by all external measures, yet feels curiously hollow, like a beautifully furnished room where no one truly lives. This hollowness is the echo of the unlived life. And make no mistake, this unlived portion of your being does not simply vanish into nothingness. That is a comforting illusion. What is repressed does not die, it goes underground, it retreats into the darker, unexplored regions of the psyche, what I have called the shadow. There, all that you have denied, your passions, your rebellions, your wildness, your genius, coalesces into a kind of psychological entity. It gains a negative power over you. It becomes the source of those inexplicable moods that cloud your days, of those bitter projections you cast upon others, who seem to possess the very freedom you denied yourself. It manifests as a pervasive sense of meaninglessness, a feeling of being a spectator in your own existence. The world becomes dull, not because the world lacks wonder, but because you have severed the connection to the inner source of wonder that is your birthright. The unlived life, therefore, is not a passive absence. It is an active, festering presence within you. It is a psychological fact of the highest order, and it will exact its price. It will express itself one way or another, either through the conscious, though difficult, process of integration, or through the unconscious, destructive acting out of its repressed energies. You will either face it with courage, or you will be lived by it as a kind of fate. The true work, the great task, is to stop living as an echo of someone else's expectations and to begin the arduous, glorious process of hearing and heeding your own inner voice. It requires turning a compassionate attention toward those very parts of yourself you have been taught to disown. It demands that you ask, with genuine curiosity and without judgment, what is it that I am truly afraid to feel? What potential lies dormant within me, waiting not for permission, but for recognition? This is not a call to reckless abandon, but to profound responsibility, the responsibility to become whole, to live the life that is yours to live, with all its strange and particular contours, is the only victory that ultimately matters. For in the end, we are not punished for our failures, but haunted by the specter of what we might have been, and the unique song that died with us, unsung. And so we come to the great and unavoidable paradox, the secret that lies buried in the very ground of that tragedy. For the energy, the vitality, the authentic power you seek to live your life does not lie in further polishing the mask of the persona, in seeking ever more light. It is waiting for you in the exact opposite direction, in the darkness you have been so diligently fleeing. Your shadow, that reservoir of the rejected and the disowned, does not merely hold your weaknesses and fears, it holds the key to your light. We are creatures of polarity, and consciousness is born from the tension of opposites. To have one without the other is an illusion, a flat and lifeless picture. You cannot have a meaningful day without the contrast of night. You cannot know true joy without having brushed against sorrow. And you cannot access the full, radiant strength of your being without first making peace with the dark, unlit portions of your own soul. Consider for a moment what you have cast into that shadow. It is not only your pettiness, your rage, or your selfishness, though those are certainly there. In your rush to be good, to be agreeable, to be spiritual, you have also thrown away your rightful assertiveness, your raw creativity, your primal instinct, and the fierce, untamed passion that is the very engine of life. You censored your anger, and in doing so, you lost the capacity for righteous boundaries. You hid your fear, and in the process, you severed the nerve endings of your intuition. You attempted to be only light, and in that desperate, one-sided endeavor, you made the light itself weak and insubstantial, a mere idea without the power to warm or to illuminate. The shadow is not, therefore, your enemy. It is the locked door to the cellar where you have stored your most potent wine. It is the forgotten underground stream that can quench the thirst of your parched and respectable life. The process of engaging with this shadow is the most courageous work you will ever undertake. It is not an intellectual exercise, it is a descent. It requires you to turn and face, with ruthless honesty, what you see reflected in the people who irritate you most profoundly, in the impulses that shock you, in the dreams that frighten you. These are not random misfirings of the brain, they are messengers from your own depths, bearing gifts that your conscious self has refused. When you can look at your own envy and see within it a distorted reflection of a desire you have been too timid to own, when you can observe your own arrogance and find at its core a fragile, unacknowledged need for respect, you begin the alchemical work. You begin to reclaim these lost fragments. You take back your projection and you integrate the energy. And what happens then? A miraculous thing. The energy that was once bound up in hiding, in repressing, in judging, is liberated. It becomes available to you. That same passion that fueled a destructive rage can now fuel a relentless dedication to your art. The assertiveness you feared as aggression becomes the backbone of your convictions. The shadow, once faced, ceases to be a sinister force lurking behind you, and becomes a source of immense power and substance beneath you. It is the rich, dark soil from which the flower of your consciousness finally grows strong enough to withstand the storms of life. This is not a journey for the faint of heart, for it demands you to forgive yourself for being human and to reclaim the entirety of the strange and beautiful creature that you are. And if you have truly begun this work, if you have dared to peer into that darkness and reclaim even a fragment of your lost self, you will have noticed a most distressing and necessary truth. The journey toward wholeness is not one of serene, linear progress. It is, and must be, a descent into chaos. The ordered life you so carefully constructed, the tidy narrative of who you are, must necessarily shatter. This is not a sign that you have failed, but a profound indication that you have begun to succeed. You must learn to embrace the chaos that births your cosmos. For the psyche is not a static monument, it is a living, breathing universe, and every expansion of consciousness, every genuine rebirth, is preceded by a period of terrifying dissolution. The old king must die for the new one to be born. The safe, familiar shore must recede from view before you can discover a new world. We cling to order with such desperation because we mistake it for sanity itself. We build our routines, our beliefs, our identities, like a wall against the primordial unknown that swirls both within us and without. But this order, if it becomes too rigid, becomes a tomb. It is the persona solidified, a life of repetition that has forgotten the purpose of living. Then, life itself, in its infinite wisdom, will send a tremor through your foundations. It may come as a great crisis, a loss, a failure, a heartbreak that unravels you, or it may come as a quieter, more insistent disquiet, a feeling that everything is wrong, a boredom that eats at the soul. This is the chaos knocking, and our first, instinctual response is to see it as an enemy, to patch the cracks, to redouble our efforts at control. We try to silence the disquiet with distraction, to medicate the boredom with novelty, to repair the shattered image of our life with the same glue that has already failed. But what if you were to pause? What if you were to, for a single, courageous moment, stop fighting the collapse? This is the pivotal choice. To sit in the midst of the ruin of your old certainties and not immediately seek to rebuild them, but to listen, to feel the raw, unformed potential that stirs in the debris. This chaos is not meaningless. It is the raw material of your becoming. It is the alchemical asterisk prima materia asterisk, the formless mass from which the gold of a new consciousness is distilled. In the depths of your despair, when the old prayers no longer have meaning, and the old maps no longer correspond to the territory, something new is gestating. Your deepest values are being tested, your truest self is struggling to emerge from the broken shell of who you thought you were. This chaos is a kind of childbirth, and like all childbirth, it is a bloody, messy, and painful affair. It is the dark, creative womb of the soul, where the fragments of your shattered persona and the reclaimed energies of your shadow are being swirled together in a great, unconscious process, awaiting a new form, a new synthesis. To trust this process is the ultimate act of faith in your own path. It is to understand that the period of greatest confusion is often the moment of most potent revelation, if only you have the courage to endure it without fleeing. The cosmos that will emerge from this chaos will not be a mere replica of the old order. It will be vaster, more resilient, and more truly your own. It will be a universe capable of containing your contradictions, a consciousness that has made room for both the light and the dark, a self that has been tempered in the fire of its own transformation. For the seed must break apart in the dark soil for the tree to rise toward the sun dot, and as you endure this necessary chaos, as you sit in the fertile darkness of your own unfolding, you will inevitably ask, but how do I listen? How can I discern the voice of this truer self from the mere echoes of the old world? The answer is both simpler and far more mysterious than you might suppose. The soul does not speak to us in the straightforward prose of business plans or logical arguments. It communicates in the ancient, native tongue of all inner life, the language of symbol and dream. While your conscious mind is occupied with the daily business of living, a deeper, older intelligence is constantly at work within you, weaving a tapestry of images that hold the secrets of your becoming. To ignore these images is to be like a person who receives a beautifully illustrated letter from a distant land, only to discard it because they do not understand the script. Consider your dreams not as random neurological static, but as urgent, personal mythologies staged in the private theater of your night. The figures that appear, the chasing shadow, the forgotten house with its many rooms, the mysterious guide, the threatening or sublime animal, these are not literal prophecies or mere memories. They are living aspects of your own psyche, personified. They show you the state of your inner world in a way that blunt, daytime consciousness cannot grasp. The monster in the dream is the embodied fear you will not admit to yourself. The overflowing river is the passion your waking life ignores. The lost child is your own neglected innocence or creativity. These symbols are the raw, undigested data of your existence, presenting themselves to you for recognition and integration. They are the language of the self, speaking to the ego, and to dismiss them is to dismiss the most direct line you have to your own truth. And this symbolic language is not confined to the night. It spills into your waking life in the form of powerful attractions and aversions, in the song that inexplicably moves you to tears, in the story you find yourself returning to again and again, in the sudden and vivid image that flashes before your mind's eye in a moment of quiet reflection. A symbol is a key that unlocks a door to a chamber of the soul, releasing a specific energy, a specific understanding that was previously locked away. It is a living thing, charged with meaning that can never be fully exhausted by a single interpretation. The same symbol, a circle, a snake, a mountain, can hold a unique and evolving meaning for you at different stages of your life. Your task is not to solve the symbol like a riddle, but to engage with it, to hold it in your awareness, to feel its texture and its emotional weight, to allow it to work upon you. This is how the unconscious communicates with the conscious. This is how the self guides the individual. So you must learn this language. You must become an attentive student of your own inner imagery. Keep a journal by your bed. Pay heed to the recurring themes in your fantasies, in the stories that capture you, in the mistakes you seem fated to repeat. For in these patterns lies a profound intelligence, a guidance system far wiser than the fleeting whims of the conscious will. The symbols that rise from the depths are the stars by which you can navigate the chaos, the threads of gold woven through the dark tapestry of your transformation, leading you always, if you have the courage to follow, toward the center of your own being. For the dream is the small hidden door in the deepest and most intimate sanctum of the soul. And so we arrive at the great and final misunderstanding of the spiritual journey, the desperate, often heroic, effort to become only light. To purify oneself to rise above the mess of human emotion, to transcend the body and its base instincts. This is a noble aspiration, but it is a profound error, for it seeks to create a wholeness by amputation. You cannot become whole by lighting a lamp and pretending the darkness does not exist. True wholeness, the kind that radiates an authentic and unshakable peace, is not found by the light of that lamp alone. It is achieved only when you turn and face the darkness that stretches behind you, when you cease to call it enemy and instead make it sacred. For the darkness is not empty, it is terrifically, potently full. It is the source of your fertility, the ground of your being, the womb from which all your light is born, and to which it must return each night to be renewed. This is the most critical step in the journey of individuation, to stop the civil war within your own soul. We are taught to champion the good, the positive, the loving, and to exile the negative, the fearful, the angry. But what is anger but a fierce and passionate energy that, when integrated, becomes the unwavering capacity to say no to what violates your spirit? What is fear but a deep, instinctual intelligence that, when listened to, can guide you away from true danger and toward a more profound caution and respect for the mysteries of life? These so-called negative aspects are not flaws in your design, they are essential colors in the palette of your humanity. To deny them is to render the painting of your life shallow and unconvincing. To make the darkness sacred is to invite these disowned guests to the table of your consciousness, not as masters, but as contributors to the totality of who you are. This is not a passive surrender to your worst impulses. It is, rather, an act of supreme spiritual courage. It is the conscious decision to descend into the cellar of your own soul with a lantern, not to chase away the shadows, but to see what dwells there. To sit with your envy until you discover the hidden map of your own deepest desires. To listen to your grief until you understand the profound depths of your capacity to love. To acknowledge your laziness or apathy until you uncover a soul exhausted from wearing a mask of relentless, inauthentic effort. This darkness is the asterisk prima materia asterisk, the raw, unformed substance of your potential. It is the rich, black soil, heavy with decay, without which no seed can sprout and no flower can bloom. Your vitality does not come from avoiding this soil, but from sinking your roots deep into it, drawing nourishment from the very things you thought were your corruption. To make the darkness sacred is to perform a daily, inner ritual of acceptance. It is to look at your own imperfections, your quirks, your wounds, and your strange, private longings, and to pronounce them not as sins, but as holy. It is to understand that the very thing you have been most ashamed of, the memory that makes you flinch, the impulse you have hidden even from yourself, contains a fragment of your soul's gold, waiting to be redeemed. When you can do this, a miraculous integration occurs. The war within ceases. The energy you wasted in hiding and suppressing is liberated, and you become a vessel of immense, grounded power. You are no longer a fragile statue on a pedestal, afraid of being toppled. You have become a great, ancient tree, your branches reaching for the heavens, because your roots have embraced the dark, nourishing earth. For the goal is not to become a being of pure light, but to become a complete human being, in whom the dawn and the dusk are in perpetual, creative conversation. And this brings us to the most practical, yet most misunderstood, truth of this entire undertaking. We have spoken of shadows and chaos, of dreams and the sacred dark, and now you may find yourself waiting for a final revelation, a map that will chart the course for you. But I must tell you, there is no map, there is only the walking. The path is not a pre-existing line that you discover and then follow. It is made by walking, and the walking itself, with all its stumbles and uncertainties, is home. You are waiting for a sign from the heavens, for a bolt of lightning to illuminate the one true way, while all around you, and within you, the terrain of your life is whispering its directions with every single step you take. We are haunted by the illusion of destination. We believe that if we can just arrive at that certain job, that relationship, that state of enlightenment, then the journey will be complete and we will finally be whole. This is perhaps the greatest temptation of the ego, to project wholeness into a future moment, thereby absolving itself of the responsibility to be whole now, in this very footfall. But the path is not the means to an end. The path is the end. The meaning is not waiting for you at the summit of the mountain. It is encoded in the strain of your muscles against the incline, in the clarity of the air you breathe as you climb, in the small, beautiful stones you notice on the trail. Your life is not a pilgrimage to a sacred site. Your life, in its raw, immediate, and unfolding reality, asterisk is asterisk the sacred site. Every choice you make, every instinct you heed or ignore, every small act of courage or moment of withdrawal, is an act of path-making. When you choose to speak your truth, you carve a new contour into your world. When you retreat from a challenge out of fear, you create a different kind of path, one that may lead you in a circle back to the same lesson. There are no wrong steps, only steps that create different kinds of paths, some broad and sunlit, others narrow and shadowed, all of them valid, all of them part of the intricate, unique geography of your soul. The goal is not to find a path without obstacles, but to develop the legs to walk the one you are on. The goal is not to avoid getting lost, but to understand that being lost is often the only way to discover a new landscape within yourself that you never knew existed. To trust your path, then, is to trust the organic, unfolding process of your own life. It is to relinquish the desperate need for a fixed 5-year plan, and instead to cultivate a deep, moment-to-moment sensitivity to the next right step. It is to understand that the very concept of a mistake is often just the ego's judgment of a necessary detour that taught you something essential about your own resilience or your true desires. The walking itself, the engagement, the attention, the willingness to keep moving, even when the destination is shrouded in fog, this is the transformative practice. It is in the walking that you meet your shadow. It is in the walking that you endure the chaos. It is in the walking that you learn the symbolic language of the terrain. You are not a tourist on this earth, following a guidebook. You are a pioneer of the inner world, and the ground solidifies only under the weight of your footfall. So do not ask if you are on the right path. Ask instead if you are walking with awareness. Ask if you are listening to the whispers of the stones beneath your feet and the weather of your own soul. And this brings us to the final and most humbling realization. After all this talk of walking your own path, of making the darkness sacred, you may still be laboring under a final, heroic illusion that you are the author of your own story. We believe that with enough willpower, enough introspection, enough effort, we can sit down and consciously design our own mythology. We can decide who we are to become. But I must tell you, the deepest truth of the psyche operates on a different principle entirely. You do not find your myth, you are found by it. You do not choose the great story of your life through conscious intention. You are chosen by it, seized by it, and your only true task is to recognize it, to consent to it, and to live it out with every fiber of your being. Think of the great myths of old, the wanderings of Odysseus, the labors of Heracles. Do you imagine these heroes sat in contemplation and intellectually devised their quests? No. The quest was thrust upon them by the gods, by fate, by the unraveling of a destiny that was woven into their very nature from the beginning. Your psyche operates in the same manner. The central, archetypal pattern of your life, your personal myth, is not a conscious creation. It is a deep, underlying current in the river of your soul, a primordial pattern that has been there since the dawn of your consciousness, waiting for the conditions to be right to express itself. You encounter it not as a plan, but as a compelling force. It is the undeniable pull you feel toward a certain quality of experience, the repetitive theme that plays out in your relationships and your failures, the peculiar wound that will not heal, because it is, in fact, the very site of your initiation. You can spend your life trying to write a different, more respectable, more conventional story for yourself. You can try to force yourself into the myth of the flawless hero, the perfect lover, the enlightened master. But if that is not your myth, the soul will rebel. It will create symptoms. It will foster a profound sense of meaninglessness, as if you are speaking lines from a play that belongs to another. The true myth is what grips you from the unconscious. It is the dream that recurs throughout your life in different disguises. It is the book that forever changes you, the landscape that feels inexplicably like home, the work that does not feel like work because it is a form of prayer. It is the thing you must do, not because you want to, but because you are compelled to, because to refuse it is to feel your very life force ebb away. To be found by your myth requires a surrender of the ego's frantic authorship. It asks you to stop trying to invent your life and to start listening for the life that wants to live through you. This is the culmination of trusting your path. It is to look back at the chaos, the shadow, the dreams, and the walking, and to see not a random series of events, but the unfolding chapters of a story that has always been yours. Your myth is your unique, non-transferable assignment from the collective soul of humanity. It is the role that only you can fill, the lesson only you can learn, the beauty only you can bring into this world. It is not a burden, but the ultimate source of your authority and your power. So cease your striving to find it. Instead, open the eyes of your soul to the places where it is already actively seeking you. For the myth that you are destined to live is already whispering your name in the wind and writing its signature in the lines of your hand. And so, my friends, we arrive at the end of our gathering, but at the very beginning of your true work. You came here perhaps seeking a map, a set of instructions, a guarantee. But I have given you none. Instead, I have returned to you the only thing that has ever been, and ever will be, yours, the terrifying and magnificent responsibility for your own existence. You now know that the unlived life is the only tragedy. You understand that your shadow holds the key to your light. You have been invited to embrace the chaos that births your cosmos, to learn the soul's language of symbol and dream. You have heard that wholeness is not found by lighting a lamp, but by making the darkness sacred. You see that the path is made by walking, and that you do not find your myth, you are found by it. There are no more excuses. The analysis is complete. The mirror has been held up. Now, you must choose. Will you continue to live as a faint echo of someone else's expectations? Or will you, from this moment forward, consent to the immense, flawed, and glorious adventure of being uniquely, entirely, and uncompromisingly yourself? Will you dare to be a beginner? Will you have the courage to be imperfect? Will you grant yourself the permission to be whole? Not perfect. The world does not need more half people, more beautiful masks. It needs souls who have done their inner work. It needs your specific, unrepeatable song, sung with your whole voice, cracks and all. So go forth from this place, not with a new set of rules, but with a new kind of courage. Go forth and trust the path that is yours alone. Walk it, stumble, get up again. Make the darkness your ally. Listen to your dreams. Live the myth that has chosen you. Do not ask for guarantees. Become the guarantee. Do not seek the light. Become a source of it, forged in your own darkness. You are no longer a seeker. You are a finder. Now, go and live what you have found. Good luck on the most important journey you will ever take, the one that leads you back to the very heart of yourself. Thank you.